Out of all the mind-blowing Vancouver Canucks things that we have seen this season, from the top of the league in points and Hughes, Pettersson, and Miller at one point, to the fact that they were number one in the league as a team, the Vancouver Canucks have had many mind-blowing things happen to them, both in the positive and negative capacity. But this video right here, I am saying this is the most mind-blown that I have been in years, because today we're going over a stat that kind of indicates to everybody who is new around here why Canucks fans are traumatized. Why, after years and years of Jim Benning, some folks, maybe like myself, still find ways to be negative about a team that has already clinched a playoff spot and is one of the top teams in the NHL. Yesterday's video, last night, the Canucks are frauds, quote-unquote, kind of ruffled a few jimmies, and I totally expected it to, don't worry. But the fact is, it didn't ruffle all the jimmies, because we did have some people in the comments saying, yeah, team's not good. And that is part of what I'm talking about. Even if the Canucks are a super good team on paper, they've got some of the top point guys, they've got this, they've got that, they're still finding ways to get by without their starting goaltender and without their center that they acquired in the Andrei Kuzmenko trade. Even though they have been treading water, we can still panic, and this is partially why. Today we're going over onto JFresh's Twitter account, because what he did was he made a post that talks about the worst defensive pairings in the NHL. As many noted, really bad pairings don't stick together that long. With that in mind, I've lowered the time on ice threshold to 1,000 minutes together. Here are the truly nastiest regular defensive pairings since 07-08, when all of this advanced tracking, statistical, expected goals shared, even strength, whatever stuff started. This is from 07-08 to 2023-2024. So, a span of about 16 years. And when you look at some of the pairings that are listed here, okay, you go to the bottom, you'll see some guys that are interesting, like the Nikita Zaitsev-Thomas Chabot pairing was the 312th worst pairing in the NHL. Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Tyler Myers was the 311th pairing. Which is nuts, because that pairing literally happened like 2 seasons ago. There are a lot of pairings on here, and the majority of them, I'd say, I don't even think they're very recent. I mean, Nicholas Havlid and Toby Enstrom, that was in the Atlanta Thrasher days. Hal Gill, Dan Girardi, Michael Del Zotto, that was like old news too. Savard Gavrikov, okay, that's kind of a new one. Ivan Provorov, Travis Sanheim, that's kind of a new one too. Kind of interesting that Chris Phillips and Erik Carlsson is on here, considering that that pairing pretty much went to the third round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. But when you go up to the top of the list, this is where you see some of the craziest pairings possible. Because look, I'll say this, the Edmonton Oilers, they have 2 pairings in the top 4 of the worst defensive pairings of the past 16 years. Andrew Ference and Jeff Petrie, and Ladislav Smid and Steve Stais. Actually, now that I'm looking at the list, that third worst pairing, Andrew Peeke and Vladislav Gavrikov, I'm pretty sure that was recent too, before Gavrikov got sent over to LA. But the number 1 worst pairing in the NHL for the past 16 years, out of pairings with over 1,000 time on ice across multiple seasons, ranked by combined on-ice 5v5 goal and expected goal shared numbers, the worst pairing is Ben Hutton and Erik Gudbranson. They're the 335th worst pairing. They had 1,200 minutes of time on ice together. Their goal share was 34.3, which is the lowest number on this chart. Their expected goal share was a bit higher than that, but it's still one of the low ones, and their average was the worst. They're the only pairing out of this list of 300 plus pairings to have an average goal share and expected goal share of under 40%. Meaning that on average, whenever Ben Hutton and Erik Gudbranson are on the ice, for every 4 goals scored that the Vancouver Canucks have, the opponent scores about 6. And you can see just how close a lot of these numbers really are. I mean, if you're looking at it mathematically, there's only a difference of about 6% between Ben Hutton and Erik Gudbranson and Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Tyler Myers, the worst and not worst pairings that show up here, don't get me wrong, Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Tyler Myers were still bad, but to see that Ben Hutton and Erik Gudbranson was actually the worst damn pairing of the past 16 years, that kind of confirms everything, seriously. This is why Canucks fans have trauma. This is why we're used to crap like this, because Jim Benning ran this team into the ground with his terrible contracts and his terrible teams. You know what I'm thinking about right now? I think about Erik Gudbranson and Ben Hutton. I always knew that they were this bad. I always did, and you know how I always knew? Because we literally made videos about this over and over again, all the post-game videos in the 2017-18 season. We would talk endlessly about Gudbranson and Hutton and Gudbranson and Hutton, and I know Ben Hutton had himself a really good start to his Vancouver Canucks career. But after being a guy that a lot of people were sort of comparing to Shane Gostisbehere and Colton Parayko because they were young dudes breaking into the scene, doing their thing, and they were good, even though Ben Hutton, who was a 5th-round pick by the Vancouver Canucks, started out his career pretty well, everything turned bad in 2017-2018. 6 points in 61 games played. He wasn't good. Now he's in Vegas. He's all right. He's got a Stanley Cup to his name. Good for him. But the Ben Hutton and Erik Gudbranson pairing was so bad that I legitimately remember making a rap about this. Seriously, here's the throwback to the West Coast Roast posted before my first year in college. If anybody remembers this, and I appreciate you, but we'll get into the lore a little bit after this sample here.
But what about Gutty? Oh, Erik Gudbranson? Okay. Gutty, Erik Gudbranson, the $4 million man. Getting smoked on Fortnite and on the ice. That pairing with Hutton was bland. The fellas at Electronic Arts gave you a mid-70s rating. Well, that's good enough. Injuries, they're tough, but it's clear that your play is degrading.
Yeah, that was 18-year-old me in a video that I'm honestly gonna say might have had some really negative implications on my career. Not to say that the video did poorly or anything, but I think, I don't know, there's some small thought in the back of my mind that has the idea that the Vancouver Canucks themselves did not like that video, and I think I might have accidentally blacklisted myself from any promotional services because of the existence of that. I don't know, that's just me speculating. It's not anything confirmed. I'm just judging off of the vibes, but that rap song was kind of my last hoorah, because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go into college. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make videos every day anymore because I'm gonna be busy. I'm going to BCIT, and that's a busy-ass school. So, like, things are not gonna be as streamlined as it was when I was in high school. So I wanted to make a rap song, just kind of test the waters on my emceeing ability. It was so-so, in my opinion, but I did make that line. Hey, Erik Gudbranson, that pairing with Hutton, that sucked. Both of those guys turned into absolute turnstiles when they were with each other, and, like, I kind of locked those memories deep within the core of my soul. I remember talking all this talk about how terrible Gudbranson and Hutton were together, but that was 7 years ago. I was like, you know, I'm not gonna think about that anymore. I don't want to see that anymore. But now, JFresh posts the gosh darn thing. He's like, yeah, this was the worst pairing in the NHL in the past 16 years. It was that bad. It was really that bad. And this is why Canucks fans, some of us, are still traumatized. Because we're so used to things being bad that now, once things are going well, any slight indication that the bad is still there, it's time to panic and it's time to cut off an arm and a leg. Because, yeah, I've got an infected fingernail, yeah, we gotta chop off my entire hand. How's that sound? It's the panic reaction that I don't think is too intentional at this point. You know, I'm not going out there making videos, oh, the Canucks are bad. Lego thinks the Canucks suck and, like, everything. It's like, no, I think they're a great team. That's why when you have results like what we had seen yesterday against Vegas, especially when it's compiling against results like we had seen against LA, like we had seen against the Dallas Stars, this is reason to feel a little bit insecure as to how the Canucks are going to perform in the playoffs. Demko's going to be back. Lindholm's going to be back. I get it. They're going to be better on paper. But still, it's not like everything is sunshines and rainbows right now. So to see something like this pop up on my timeline on a nice Wednesday afternoon, happy hump day, everybody, that kind of, hey, this blew my mind. They're the worst pairing of the past 16 years. It wasn't just us eye test folks going out there and saying, oh man, they suck, back in the moment of 2017. I'll end this video off with a big thank you, Jim, and a big thank you, Patrick Allvin, because, yeah, he's a lot better than Jim Benning, unfortunately. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as to how Ben Hutton and Erik Gudbranson were legitimately the worst pairing in the NHL for a 16-year span, and how the Vancouver Canucks housed them. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.